Hey guys, Ronnie here. I've been following the Abby Zerner trial this week, and I just kind of wanted to touch base about it and kind of get your thoughts and see what your feelings are about it. Now, if you don't know the case I'm talking about, Abby was a first grade teacher who was shot through the hand and into her chest by her 6-year-old student, and she filed suit against her assistant principal for failure to act when it had been reported that the child possibly had a gun. Now, my background is in education. I've been in education for around 26 years. I spent about 14 years as a guidance counselor, a school guidance counselor. And in my district, I worked in a school that was pre-K through 12 on one campus. So I worked with all age groups throughout my career. And then for the past 12 years, I've worked on the administrative side in the district office. So I feel like I have a good grasp of both sides of the coin here. So I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Um, the first thing that I've heard a lot of people ask is, why did Abby not search the child? And a lot of districts, and even including mine, we have procedures that are in place. A teacher just normally doesn't go through the child's things without another person present, either another teacher or another admin. And usually, more than likely, if something bad is going on, you feel like a child's backpack needs to be searched or even their person needs to be searched, you're going to contact the administrative side of things, your principal, assistant principal, and ask for help there. It's kind of the chain of command that we go through, and teachers can get in trouble for not following this chain of command. So people that you've heard say, I would just went through it anyway. Well, I understand what you're saying, but a lot of times people are afraid they're going to get in trouble, or they might could even lose their job, or and so they just follow these rules that we have in place, and it's just what we're kind of trained to do. So I understand why Abby was kind of waiting and thinking that someone was going to come and help. And another thing I've heard, what about the principal? I think from what I've been able to find out is that possibly the principal and the school resource officer were both off campus at the time of the incident. Now, that's not a good situation, but it does happen. Principals end up going to trainings. They have principals meetings at the district office. A lot of these are usually during the daytime, and there are a lot of things that just pull the principal from the campus. And as far as the SRO, I'm fortunate in my district that because at the moment we have an SRO that has been pulled off campus for a training, but our local police have given us another person in his spot. So we have an SRO on campus all throughout the school day. We're not having any time where we don't have someone there. So, but there are situations I could see something happening where someone's sick. If a district didn't have someone to fill in, I'm just very fortunate in my district. But I think that was the case for Abby's school district. Is possibly there wasn't someone to fill in, or that just wasn't put into place. So you had this gap here. So in today's world and in today's time, it's just so important to have that school resource officer. They provide such a valuable um, job resource to the school. We just almost can't go without them. And of course, the assistant principal, I don't understand why she did not come and search the child's backpack or search the child. In my district, if there was a report of a gun, a possible gun, or even the thought of a gun, it would be all hands on deck. I mean, it just would be. We would have principals there, our SRO would be there. If we knew about it, district staff would be present. We would be on the spot to try to figure out what was going on. I don't think that I do understand the fact that you're maybe think that a first grade child wouldn't have anything like this. But I'm gonna tell you, I've worked in the K-12 setting, and I can remember even as young as a kindergartner that was fighting the SRO. There are just a lot of things going on with children today. A lot of behavior problems, a lot of you know maybe even some mental disorders that are having to be dealt with in the school. And it's not an easy job sometimes. It's just really not. So, but I just can't understand for the life of me why someone did not come and check this backpack and check this child. That part of it for me just makes no sense. I don't think I'll ever understand that part. I live in Mississippi, and there are, a gun pretty much in every household. I don't know if this area in Virginia, if guns are not as common, or there was a reason that the principal, just didn't think the child would have a gun, which didn't think the child would do this. But in today's world, there is no such thing as that anymore. You can't take any chances. You have to, any kind of a thought or any kind of a warning that you get, you have to follow up on it immediately. Another thing I've heard people ask about is, well, how is Abby going to get this verdict, this $10 million from a former assistant principal who's probably lost her job? Well, more than likely, this is going to fall back on the school district insurance, is who would end up having to pay. Now they're going to appeal the ruling. They're going to negotiate. I personally don't think that there'll ever be a $10 million award. I think you're probably looking more in the area of 500,000 to 3 million, somewhere in that area there, just depending on the rider, the insurance. Some insurance companies have they have caps. They're only able to pay out so much money. So I think there'll be some negotiating there, and it'll fall somewhere in that range. But I could be wrong. But at the end of the day, this young man was troubled, and that's what I fall back to. School districts, school guidance counselors, and I was one myself, so I can tell you this. You know, this child had issues that school counselor is not um, able to fix or to help. We are there for basic counseling needs, but we need it in our schools. We need more in-depth counseling. We need more social workers. We need more mental health help in the schools. And those costs for a school district, sometimes the money's not there for it. That money needs to come from federal funds. There needs to be more money, more focus placed on this. And until that is done, we're going to see increases in things like this happening. We've got to have more focus from that, so from the mental health side of things. The world is just changing, and we've got to figure out something to do. So really, in this situation, there are no winners. I think the child's mother was sentenced to she got sentenced to maybe 22 months, a year, or something like that, in jail. So she's gone for a while. What's going to happen to this young boy? He's 6 years old, and he's already committed this terrible crime. He was able to pull that trigger against another human being. Is that video games? Sometimes I think the video games are a culprit in a lot of these situations, because they're able to shoot people on these games, and maybe they don't see it as real. And I played video games in my past too, and I'm not condemning video games, but I do think things like that can affect children as well. So, but we need more help in the school to help kids understand all of these things, that these things are real, and to help them just with their overall mental health. So that's kind of my thoughts on the situation, and I'd love to hear, what do you think about it? Do you think that Abby should have done more in the classroom? Do you feel it was she had more of a responsibility? Do you feel that the court ruled in the right way, that the assistant principal ultimately had the responsibility to check up on things and follow up, and failed in that responsibility? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Drop that in the comments. Hope you maybe got a little something out of tonight's video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. And until next time, we'll catch you later.